Up on the bulletin. Well, it was in October 1947 that Pakistan sent its militia to capture Kashmir. It did succeed partially, and to this date, certain parts of Kashmir are still under illegal occupation of our rogue neighbour. Well, 70 years later, Pakistan is desperate as it faces international condemnation over its terror tactics, and as Kashmiri youth repose their faith in the Indian democracy. Unsurprisingly then, Pakistan has upped the infiltration bids at the border. The junior Home Minister Kiren Rijiju tells us that there were threefold increase in terror bids in 2016 compared to a year earlier. Well, it is no secret that Pakistan is paying off its agents in Kashmir while aiding the likes of Hafiz Saeed's son, Talha Saeed. Well, it is only logical then, shouldn't India give a crushing response and ends Pakistan's 70-year plot once and for all?
The data released by the Ministry of Home Affairs regarding the infiltration attempts made by the militants in 2015 and 16 is very alarming. There has been a threefold rise in the infiltration attempts made by the militants, and also the successful infiltration bids have been very high. While as only 33 militants crossed over to this side of LOC in 2015, in 2016 we are told 119 militants have crossed over through this side of LOC, and add to that the number of local militants who have joined militancy ranks after the Burhanwani killing. With video journalist Firdaus Wani, Arish Bilal, NewsX, Srinagar.
Big breaking news which is coming in. MoS of PMO too has given a reaction on the rise in infiltration.
Joining me right now, the Minister of State in the Prime Minister's office, Dr. Jitendra Singh, sir. It appears now that Pakistan is applying a double modus operandi, why you keep the Kashmir Valley on the boil by, propagating stone pelters. You continue with your infiltration bids on the border as well.
Yeah, if you recall the experience of the last 60-70 years, you would appreciate that Pakistan has been trying all tricks in the trade to keep the Kashmir pot boiling, as you said. To begin with, they tried their hand in the conventional war in 1947, 1965, 1971. When they did not succeed to match the might of India, they resorted to what is popularly described as a 1,000-wound theory or whatever. And they started infiltrations, they started a proxy war. When they did not succeed to their expectation in that attempt too, then they resorted to provocation in the name of a religion. And now, of course, as you are rightly mentioning, they are using the new technologies, including the social media. But I'm sure India is sufficient to meet any kind of challenge. And I think what is most gratifying is that the youth of India, including the youth of Kashmir, is now awakened enough to understand, to explore this myth, and to realize that those who provoke him to come in the line of fire, to become a stone pelter, and to put his whole life at risk, those who provoke him to do so are precisely the ones who have first ensured that their own children are lodged in safe heavens.
जम्मू कश्मीर में लोकतंत्र है, पूरे देश में लोकतंत्र है, लेकिन कुछ ऐसी शक्तियां जो पाकिस्तान जो है जिनको प्रोत्साहित करता है और डायरेक्ट मिलिटेंटों के द्वारा और अपने जो लोग हैं उनके ओवरग्राउंड वर्कर्स हैं, इस प्रकार के लोग हैं जो कि नहीं चाहते कि जम्मू कश्मीर में और खास तौर पर कश्मीर में जमहूरियत जो है वो पनपे। जमहूरियत सबसे बढ़िया जो है कहना चाहिए कि एक राज्य व्यवस्था है, लेकिन उनका पूरे कोशिश रहती है कि इस प्रकार की कोई आगे गतिविधि ना हो। लेकिन कश्मीर के लोगों ने, जम्मू कश्मीर के लोगों ने हमेशा उनको उनके मंसूबों को विफल किया है।
More breaking news which is coming in. The Congress says that the data presented in the Lok Sabha on infiltration painted a very serious picture and accountability needs to be fixed. Well, in fact, let's go across to Polomi. Polomi, alarming rise in the number of infiltrations last year, 300% rise at that as compared to what had happened earlier. So the big question is, what really has been aiding and enabling these infiltration bids?
Well, the government is definitely convinced that it is, a neighbor which is definitely aiding and abetting, as you put it, the situation in Jammu and Kashmir, where they are keeping the valley on the boil constantly. We've seen what happened very recently, just a couple of days ago in Badgam district in Chador, where there was an encounter, and immediately after the encounter, civilians, locals in the area, clashed with security forces. 3 civilians were killed, 63 Jawans were hurt and injured in the process as well. So a lot of civilians, in a sense, obstructing anti-terror operations in the valley. The government is obviously constantly appealing to them to not come in the way of the security forces and the operations that they're conducting against terrorists who are infiltrating from across the border. But it appears now that the youth, the unemployed youth of Kashmir, are being treated as fodder by Pakistan, our neighbor, and they're constantly trying to instigate them towards violence, towards attacking our security forces. They're propagating violence through social media, through WhatsApp messages, and also distributing money in order to lure them and induce them. These are unemployed youths, so any amount of money coming their way is only some amount which helps to keep them keep their home fires burning. And it's very unfortunate that Pakistan is trying to fish in troubled waters, and that's exactly what they're doing. The government is convinced, the centre is convinced, that Pakistan's spy agency ISI is behind stoking fires in the valley.
Well, in fact, Polomi, do stay on with us. Also joining us now, Arish Bilal from Srinagar. But before I come to you, Arish, and we talk about the moon on the ground, let's get our viewers some reactions also coming in.
We have to do something for them. Now, 27 schools are burnt. What has happened? Nothing. There are no studies. And the people that are there, I have suggested also that, okay, never mind, if the schools are burnt, start preparing them, which we have not. Now, someone is throwing stones, someone is breaking stones, someone is throwing a hammer on your own head. I think the situation has to be held, and we have to act severely.
Of late past 3-4 months, what we have seen is that past 5-6 months, that ISI has upped the ante in Kashmir. They have put in the entire efforts to try and bring the valley to a boil and keep it simmering. This is seen in the entire gamut of activities. Whether it is infiltration, whether it is using the separatists to create disturbances in the valley. So the ISI is going whole hog to try and destabilize the valley.
I think this is an organized attempt. उनको पैसा दिया जाता है, उनको ट्रेनिंग दी जाती है कि किस तरह से करना है, और ये स्टोन पेल्टर्स को खिलाफ कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए और उनको जेल में बंद करना चाहिए, उनके ऊपर मुकदमा चलना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये एक स्पॉन्टेनियस नहीं है, अब ये ऑर्गेनाइज्ड क्राइम है.
Well, in fact, let's go back across to Arish Bilal. He's going to help us understand what the mood on the ground really is. Now, Arish, we've seen after the schools were ravaged, all the students returning to give their exams. We've seen youth actively participating in the recruitment camps which were being organized by the Indian Army. So there seems that there are sections of the society who want to be part of the mainstream, who want to return to the peaceful days of Kashmir. However, there are those, like the separatist leaders, who seem to be instigating. And is that where the problem lies?
Well, that's absolutely right. In fact, these are the two facets of the Kashmir society. On one hand, we are seeing hundreds of youth marching towards the encounter sites like what we saw in Chador happening, and where 3 local youth who were just in the age group of 16 to 25, they lost their lives. And on the other facet of the same situation, we see hundreds of local youth lining up for recruitment in the army. We saw this happening in Baramulla, where even some stone pelters who have cases registered against them, they lined up for recruitment in police and army. So these are the two facets of the Kashmir story. On one hand, we saw radicalized youth marching towards the encounter spots, knowing that they are committing suicide, they will be hit by bullets. But on the other hand, another group of youth lining up for recruitment in the army and with a purpose to serve the country and serve the nation.
Well, in fact, follow me. In September, during the surgical strike, many said that India had proved its might, showed its might, and Pakistan would be put in place. Now, these figures that we are getting to our viewers clearly belie that India's reaction was clearly not enough for our neighbors. So how is it that the Indian establishment is going to be responding to these very alarming figures?
Well, it has to be a multifaceted approach, and that's what Dr. Jitendra Singh, who obviously comes from the region and is the Minister of State in the Prime Minister's office, told us earlier as well. Because it appears that Pakistan is trying and exploiting every avenue that's possible in order to keep the tensions simmering on the ground in the Kashmir Valley. And hence, while on the one hand they would have terrorists infiltrate across the border and keep our security forces along the international border and the LOC engaged, they obviously are trying to radicalize civilians and especially youths on the ground, as young as those killed in Chadur after that encounter that took place as well. So they're using social media, they're using money as well. So you need to counter that as well at a different level. So yes, it has to be a multifaceted approach where it has to be a security related, it has to be treated at the security and in a military way. But of course, you need to also tackle this, how social media is spreading propaganda as well, videos doing the rounds, young militants and terrorists becoming heroes for the local youth as well. The Burhan Wani likes who are on social media, who are flaunting their weapons, who are talking about their ideology constantly, putting up videos that are disturbing and of course manipulative in nature as well. You need to counter that as well, and the government is cautious of the same.
Well, it is very alarming numbers that we are getting from the Home Ministry. But the big question is the multi-pronged approach is required right now to give a befitting reply to Pakistan. We leave it there. Thank you so much, Polomi, as well as Arish Bilal, for joining us with your story. But with that, let's